life process that we are going to begin is nutrition. Starting about nutrition, first, whatever we said in our body that we need molecular movements to go on in our body. For every molecular movement to go on, to occur this, they need some energy. They need some extra energy that is given to our body. And we know what is energy currency in our body. Our energy currency in our body is ATP. You know, ATP is adenosine triphosphate. It is an energy currency and it helps all the molecules in our body to get energy, and they also move across the body, and that helps in maintaining our body. But how does this ATP generate, and where is this energy coming from? It is coming from the external source. We are all having the energy source from the outside. We don't generate energy within ourselves without any external things. So we need food to generate energy in ourselves, and this energy source we are calling it as food. Food is our energy source. And coming to the nutrition, it is a process by which organisms obtain and utilize the nutrients. It is the simplest way that an organism way of obtaining the nutrients and utilizing those nutrients. This we call it as nutrition. Speaking of nutrients, what do you mean by nutrients? We are going to see about nutrients in just a second, and let us see about the nutrients. The food components which are necessary for our body are called as nutrients. What are such food components that are necessary for our body? Those are carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, proteins and fats. These are all food components that are very necessary, mandatory to our body, and these we call them as nutrients. These are the nutrients that are needed by our body. Those are carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals and fats. And these nutrients are required, and they are required for all the life process that are going in our body. These food sources are usually carbon based. On this entire planet, most of the organisms are almost every organism is having the carbon in their molecules. Most of the body is made up of carbon, and we need to give our body lot of carbon, and this carbon is in the form of various carbohydrates. Example, glucose, sucrose, lactose, and these are all the sources of carbon. Example, glucose is found in lot of we can directly take it glucose from the medical store. You can see it gives us instant energy. And sucrose also, it is found in the sugar. Lactose is found in the milk. These are all the energy sources that are helping our body, and these are all the carbon based, and we need carbon based food. Based on the mode of obtaining nutrients, there are various types of nutrition, and the types of nutrition we are going to discuss further in our session. However, we may get the energy, we may get the food, and we may get the food in our stomach, and it gets digested. After digestion, it gets into the intestine. In the intestine, what happens is it gets absorbed. Absorbed means it is the essence of all the food materials is taken inside the intestine. From the intestine, it is passed on to the bloodstream, and to give this energy, we need something called as oxygen. Why oxygen is mandatory? Because the food that is given inside our body, it needs to be broken down. Broken down means it needs to be simplified. It needs to be simplified to get the energy. To get that energy, we need to be simplified. And what is the source of energy? Usually we have common source of energy, that is glucose. In our body, we have millions of cells. All of those cells need a common source of energy, and that common source of energy is nothing but glucose, because all the cells in our body, they can identify glucose as their energy source. So in our food, whatever we are taking, finally it has to be broken down. It has to be broken down to the glucose. And who helps in breaking down this into glucose? It is oxygen. This oxygen and the reduction reactions, they help in breaking down of this food, and this process is occurring in the respiration. So respiration, it is a process of acquiring oxygen from outside of the body and using this oxygen to break down of nutrients for the cellular needs. This is respiration, and the required oxygen is present in the lungs. Now we know that lungs, they are having the oxygen, and the food that is eaten here, it is present inside the lung. It is present inside the intestine. The food is present in the food, digested food is present in the stomach or intestine, and the oxygen is present in the lungs. But who is the agent? Who is the agent that is helping them to transport these digested food and the oxygen to each and every cell of our body? And this system is called as transportation. This system is called as transportation. This digested food and oxygen need to be taken to each and every cell of our body. And the transportation system, it helps in carrying food and oxygen from one place to another place in our body, and this transportation helps in transferring food and oxygen to entire cells in our body. And this is very important process in the life process. Coming to single cellular organisms, if you see single cellular organisms, they are mostly in the water. Suppose amoeba, and this is paramecium. These are single cellular organisms. These single cellular organisms, they are completely surrounded by the external medium, like in the water. They are present in the water. When they are present in the water, they are directly in contact with the water. So whatever they need to be exchanged, like water, food, everything can get into these cells by a simple diffusion. Very important to notice here, a simple diffusion helps these organisms to get their oxygen, to get their food. A simple diffusion is helping them to digest everything. So this is simple diffusion can work out only with the unicellular organism. In our body, we have trillions of cells, and these trillions of cells, they are arranged layer by layer, and this layer by layer of cells cannot take any food or oxygen through the diffusion. They cannot take anything by the diffusion. Diffusion cannot work in case of multicellular organisms like in the human beings. We don't take anything by diffusion. Usually whatever we are taking it by a specific organ. So these unicellular organisms, they don't need any specific organ. However, our body needs specific organ for everything. Like to take oxygen, we need lungs. To take food and digest it, we need stomach. And to transport it, we need heart and other parts of our transportation system. But these unicellular organisms, they don't need any specific organ because they have simple diffusion that is working for them. The next kind of life process is excretion. And this excretion, whatever the waste generated when the energy synthesis is occurring in our body, we said these molecular movements are active in our body when to keep ourselves living. These generate a lot of waste, and this waste has to be thrown out of our body. And if this waste is not thrown out of our body, it becomes a poison in our body. So it needs to be thrown out of our body, and this is facilitated, this is provided by a process called as excretion. This is a process in which waste byproducts are removed from the body and discarded outside, and this excretory system and the transportation system, they are working together because whatever excretory products are there, they are there in all the cells. So all the excretory product has to be gathered in the excretory system by this transportation system. It is getting all the waste products to the excretory system, and this excretory system is throwing out the waste from our body. That's how these are the vital life processes that we are going to see in our session. So if you have any doubts about this, don't hesitate to ask the question. I hope you have understood this. If you have any doubts, please don't hesitate to ask again. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.